We talk a lot about institutional adoption of crypto / Bitcoin, and we've talked about the ETFs and the interest by institutions. Adoption by corporates, I think, is something that we don't talk as much about, just because it's not happening as much. But there's MicroStrategy. There are some obvious companies like Block and Tesla, Semler Scientific this year, holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet. There was an interesting little detail that I think caught everyone's attention in a Microsoft filing last week, saying that at their upcoming shareholder meeting, they were going to be voting on this idea of assessing investment in Bitcoin. Where are we in this trend? At what point, again, adoption, it's slower than I think a lot of people in crypto have patience for, but at what point do any of you just think that you're going to see more adoption of Bitcoin by corporates? Jason?
So we've seen corporates start to poke around. We've had some conversations that are encouraging. The thing that the comparison I would make is it's a lot like 2018, 2019, where that education cycle has to take a long time, but then when it comes, it flips, and as soon as one or two do it, then a few more do it, because it moves from being something that I might get fired for doing to something that I might get fired for not doing. And so, but it has to start somewhere. We're starting to just see some of those green shoots. And it really is an educational cycle right now. Like, we are spending a lot of time talking about how it works, how the ecosystem works. It's not intuitive in the sense that, you have people at, say, a treasurer at a large Fortune 500 company. They know how their banking works. They know how their investment works. They don't necessarily know, like, wait, I got to get wallets. I have to do what? What are my protections? So there's an education that goes along with that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Education's key in this space. I think that corporate will be probably slower than most want. I do think the ETPs make it another avenue to easily access the asset class, and I think options on those will be helpful too, to maybe dampen some volatility. Because I think what keeps people away is going to be the volatility ultimately, and there's a lot of career risk involved here, right? You don't want to be first and get fired just for doing this one trade essentially. I think certain companies, it makes more sense for them to do it if they're in the space, or if they have a closely held leadership team that maybe has a very strong conviction in the asset. But I think generally speaking, they might be slower to adopt than other institutional clients.
Yeah, I don't see it for a while.
A while, like 5 years, 10 years?
Well, I don't know. You have a company in the S&P 500. Their business is not to take currency risk. So they'll either have to feel some insane FOMO that maybe their competitor's done it. But again, it brings with it a lot of volatility. I think even though vol for Bitcoin and ETH will go down now for a while. So I just, I don't see a tool and die manufacturer from Ohio deciding he wants 5% of Bitcoin. I think what's more likely is that you have some of these larger businesses in the space coming and doing IPOs, like Circle's mentioned, and eToro has announced that they're moving towards some sort of IPO, and there are a whole bunch of companies that are substantial companies. I think that's how traditional equity players, who are not allowed to own currency, will get exposure.